There is a small piece of Europe you may have overlooked, a terrain of mountains, forest, and dramatic bays. A land where the islands hold stories both horrible and heartbreaking, each an easy sail away from the last. A place of secretive villas and bunkers from a bygone era. A country of prisoners and pirates, of hearty food and strong drink, and of legendary stories that dig deep into a concept we call love. A story which will require high adventure to capture on this Road Less Traveled.
It's this last concept I will explore in a pocket-sized nation the world calls Montenegro. Pursuing love is a noble affair, fit for only the most chivalrous. So I've brought my finest steed, Rocinante, and my loyal cameraman, Sancho. Before this quest is over, I shall slay a terrible beast and find my Dulcinea.
I'm Jonathan Legg. I'm an explorer, a globetrotter on a continual quest for the unusual, exotic, and adventurous side of life. My destination is the core, the very beating heart of a place. It's the search for the wildest, most unpredictable experiences. Moments that widen and deepen our perspective of the world we live in. What happens on our journey, I don't know. But one thing I do know is this: we're sticking to the road less traveled. To make all these Don Quixote references clear, I'll begin my journey by driving down the southern coast towards Ulsing. Coming into town, I catch a unique contrast.
Kind of an interesting sight here. You've got a mosque, and then above it on the hill, a partisan monument to the liberation of the area from Hitler's and Mussolini's armies. Now, the Montenegrin uprising against the Axis forces started just down the way here, and I guess it was a very spirited resistance. The partisan monument is built in the style of brutalism. You see it all over the Balkans. It comes from the French word brute, as in raw, from raw concrete. A lot of people find it off-putting, cold, but personally I find it intriguing and evocative.
But the town's most fascinating structure is up on a hill overlooking the sea.
Check this out. See the little contrast here? You got a little church, which is Byzantine. Byzantine Empire was the new Rome. They'd embraced Christianity since Constantine. But then later came the Ottomans, and they added something to this church, a minaret, to turn it into a mosque.
It was from this bygone pirate era that some intriguing stories spring.
The pirates in this town would launch off to attack ships traveling down the coast, seizing from them both their material possessions and occasionally their flesh. Human slaves kept in these prisons and then brought to the square for auction, including one very famous name.
Miguel de Cervantes, the author of Don Quixote.
So the slaves are brought here to the main square where they're stood on a block and auctioned off. This fine young Spanish man, 100 gold coins for him. This strong Venetian, 150. Cervantes gets led up. The crowd starts auctioning, but at the last minute, the pirate master runs down and pulls him off. He's gotten word. This guy's actually a famous figure. They could fetch a lot of money, a lot. So they put him back in the prisons and they wait, and he stays here a long time. And during this period, possibly something rather lovely occurs.
Cervantes may have fallen in love.
Can you imagine one day you're out on the sea bringing cargo to a foreign land, looking forward to getting back to your wife one day? Next minute you're seized and you're brought behind these bars, no way to get news to her, family doesn't know where you are, all your rights taken away from you. Thank God those days are over. Or are they? According to a 2017 survey, there are 25 million people in human trafficking today. It's worse than ever. It's just underground. You see, back in that era, Ultzing was called Dulcinea, and the main love interest of Don Quixote is Dulcinea. So, thus began the legend that Cervantes, while here, fell in love with a local girl whom he based the love interest of Don Quixote on. Now here's the thing. Historical records say Cervantes was captured by pirates, but he was brought to Algeria. Locals say they made a stop here for a while before they went to Algeria. Without all the documents to look through, we can neither confirm nor deny it, but it is a heck of a story. And if it is true, could there possibly be a descendant of the famous Dulcinea in this town?
Could a real descendant of Dulcinea be in town today? Unlikely, but maybe.
This gelato is very dulce, don't you think?
Yes, but it's 1 euro.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Perhaps this story of Cervantes and Dulcinea is best left shrouded in mystery. But this won't keep me from my own gallant quest for love, one that continues up the coast in the Bay of Kotor, aka the Boca Bay, the bride of the Adriatic. Here a series of tiny islands tell a variety of stories that will pull on your little heartstrings.
Well, what a beautiful little bay surrounded by a bowl of mountains as the sun is setting. And here before us are two tiny islands with two tiny love stories. On this island was a young French commander named Ante, who had a lover in the town of Paras across the water. The town was uprising against French command, and the commander was given an order to suppress the uprising, so he fired a single cannonball into town. And wouldn't you know it, the thing he feared the most, he went right towards. Isn't that a funny thing? After he shot the cannonball, the white flag of surrender was raised. He ran into town and discovered that the ball went into the home of his lover and killed her. So right then and there, he renounced his military campaign and spent the rest of his life in personal exile on this island, which was and is a cemetery, so he was known as the only living man on the island of the dead.
The other island holds a similar vibe. The emotions of longing, pining, and love stretched out over time and space.
Here it is. There are the men from Paras laying the rocks that built this island. And here you have the faithful wives of the fishermen who would come to pray to the Virgin for safe passage of their husbands as they were out at sea. You know, relationships back then were much different than they are today. With the technology we have, also the expectations have changed. You expect your traveling lover to SMS you, or to send you a video call. But back then, your lover took off on a trip, you might not see them at all or hear from them for years. What kind of love would that take to stay devoted to someone as they were gone for that kind of a stretch?
Near the seaside edge of Boca Bay is the sleepy town of Herceg-Novi, known for its abundance of steps. If you're willing to schlep them, you'll be treated to 4 forts and a clock tower, sprinkled with the influence of multiple historical occupiers. By the seaside boardwalk, kids play and lovers connect. Lovers.
So there appear to be a few couples at this cafe. Let's go in and ask. Dobre večer. Dobre večer. Hello. I'm with a TV crew from America, and I'm asking people about love in Montenegro from a Montenegro perspective. So, for you guys, it's a big question, but how would you define love?
Let's say love is life, right? Love creates life. So for us, life is one big adventure. And then love is just the same. It's one big shared adventure. That's what makes it even the adventure itself even better if you share it with somebody. So for example, the two of us we loved spending time outdoors, being on the sea, being in the mountains, sailing, hiking, kayaking. But when we met, we realized we could do all those things together and enjoy it together, and then it would make it even better.
That's fantastic. So you both love to do it, you love doing it together, and now you love sharing it as a business.
Yeah.
You're in the sweet spot of life.
Thanks.
I'm Jonathan.
From a
by the way.
simple conversation, a
Natasha.
friendship is born.
Good to meet you, Ilya.
The next day, Ilya and Natasha invite me out on their Montenegro outdoors sailboat. Our destination, a beautiful piece of real estate with a troubled past. Sailing is the most serene mode of transportation known to humankind, moving along the blue earth by her very breath. A sailboat is remarkably able to penetrate upwind through the technique of tacking, zigging and zagging side to side against the breeze, releasing sail tension and tightening it as the vessel slices diagonally forward.
So how is sailing in Montenegro compared to other places in the world? Is there anything special about these waters?
Well, the shape of the Montenegro coast, the shape of the fjord is a little bit difficult because it's a narrow fjord, a narrow passage. So inside the fjord, there is rarely wind, and when there is wind, then it can get really gusty and tricky. But right here where we are closer to open waters, so here is just like anywhere else. This is the best position for sailing, I think.
It's chill.
Yeah.
I love it. What a magnificent day to be in the water. Guys, thanks for taking me out. This is great.
Our pleasure.
Eventually, our destination is reached.
Mamula Island. Would it be fair to call it the Alcatraz of Montenegro?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was built by the Austrian-Hungarians, by the general called Lazar Mamula, so it was his last name, and the fort got the name from him. And it wasn't really built as a prison in the beginning. It should have probably been some kind of a defensive fort. But later, during World War I and II, they actually did turn it into a prison and use it that way.
Was it a nice place where everybody got 3 square meals and
Don't think so.
TVs in the room, a gym? Can we dock and go on board?
Well, not now. Now we're not allowed to get on the island, so we can just sail around. They will probably renovate it, and by next year maybe we'll be able to dock.
So the common person can't visit this island for a whole year?
No, we're out of luck.
There's something about that rubs me wrong. And I, Signor Jonathan Legg, shall write this. Sancho, launch the drone.
Now all the world can see the splendor of the Isla de Mamula. Once fortress, then Mussolini's terrible concentration camp, next, luxury hotel.
May it please your worship, Signor Jonathan Legg, to give me the government of that island, which has been won in this hard fight.
Thou must take notice, brother Sancho, that this adventure, and those like it, are not adventures of islands, but of crossroads.
And the roads we cross as Road Less Traveled continues will become mysterious, adventurous, and perilous. My quest for love will eventually lead me away from the coast. But before then, let's talk about an era that was largely loved, surrounded by a figure who was almost completely adored. Montenegro was once part of a massive country called Yugoslavia, held together by the political brilliance and charisma of Josip Broz Tito. The remnants of this era are seen all over Montenegro, starting here in Tito's secret villa, into which I have secured special access. Inside the villa, it's opulent, with a heap of random oddities.
Can you guess by any chance what's this?
Ooh, let's see. Some kind of a Powerball lottery thing? Yeah?
No, not even a hamster tank, no.
No, not a hamster training facility?
Nothing of that. You see, when it was Tito's security in question, nothing was too much. And this machine, once called the aquarium, was used to control the quality of fresh water coming into this building. In a way that about a week before Tito was about to arrive, it was inhabited by a special kind of fish, a kind that can only live in absolutely clean water. On any sign of water imperfection, even the slightest imperfection, fish would simply die and fall directly to the bottom, which would then trigger the automatic alarm and the automatic shutdown of the water.
Wow.
But that never, let me tell you, that never happened. And in addition to all of this, just to be safe, there was a man here whose only job was to sit here and watch the fish.
No kidding.
Yeah.
What was his job title?
I don't know, maybe something like fish whisperer.
Outside, the views are spectacular.
What a nice view.
Yeah, you have the same opinion as President had when he first arrived here. And he said, well, this is beautiful, this is nice, but you see those palms down there?
Yeah, that one.
At that time, they were just planted. They were like this big. And President said, like I already told you, this is beautiful, this is nice, but those palms, they look ridiculous. They look like flowers. Nobody said anything, and Tito went inside for a good night's sleep. The very next morning, he showed up here again to enjoy the view, and now all of a sudden those palms were a fully grown tree.
While he slept, they hustled and replaced them.
Exactly like that.
Oh.
Found it, transported it, and planted it on the same spot.
All because of this tiny comment he made.
All because of that,
He was a man of a lot of influence.
obviously.
Yeah.
You can say that.
The grandeur spreads from room to room, including the toilet.
So, are you ready to see the most luxurious room in the whole place?
Right through this door.
Right through this door.
Let's check it out. And it's the bathroom.
Yeah, it sounds
Really?
strangely, but it's a bathroom.
Ooh la la. This is quite a nice room for a shitter.
Never heard that line before, but yeah, you're quite right.
Yeah.
Actually, it's this marble. It's
This is marble.
One of the few things that are not from former Yugoslavia. It's a marble that you can find only in Brazil.
Brazilian blue marble.
Exactly like that. And the color is natural.
It's soothing.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was sitting right there, I'd feel really at ease.
I was more picturing myself in a bath with a couple of cold beers.
With a couple cold beers.
Yeah.
It's not a bad option either. And he had a barber's chair?
Yeah, of course. It's cool not only because he had his own barber shop in his bathroom, but they did one small feature to the chair, one of my favorites.
Oh.
He was a heavy smoker. He was a big fan of handmade Cuban cigars. So
Cuban cigars from Fidel.
Of course.
Yeah.
He was a big friend with Fidel.
Huh. Wow. So you get to enjoy his blue marble while smoking a Cuban cigar from Fidel Castro.
Not with the beers, like I said, but with the Chivas Regal, his favorite drink.
Oh, it's real. Wow. Really nice. I'm feeling a little. Do you mind if I have 5 minutes?
Sure.
Yeah.
The traces of this dead nation extend past exclusive villas, but you must look carefully to uncover them.
The signs of old Yugoslavia are super subtle here in Montenegro, like this place behind me. It was once targeted by NATO warplanes. Now it's on the radar of a more peaceable, refined crowd. What these two groups wanted is very different. You can tell by all this fortified concrete that this was a military bunker. Its proximity to the airport and the size of these doors behind me give a clue as to what was inside. Yugoslav fighter jets. Guess what's inside here now?
Over 2 million liters of wine. Just outside the bunker, the old military runway takes off through 2,000 hectares of grapevine. Inside the bunker, it's quiet as a mouse.
Wow. A 365-meter tunnel, and there's no one here. I think I saw one lady in the tasting room who hasn't detected me yet. It's got this cool atmosphere of a bygone military era, like you've snuck into a secret compound. That subterranean cool air and a nice aroma of wood. Real special place. And I got it to myself. All right, let's see if we can get what's inside of these things. I'm gonna go find that lady.
I find a couple employees tucked into a bright tasting room. Since I'm the only person here, I've become the momentary king of the castle.
Hey,
This is tasting room
This
for
is-
presentation and tasting best wines.
tasting room?
Tasting room.
Can I do a
yes.
tasting?
Yes, welcome.
This is blend two types of white grape, 80% Chardonnay and 20% Sauvignon.
It does feel like in the finish,
Yes.
a fruit
I-
basket gets thrown across your tongue. You're right, this is the perfect food for this wine.
Yes, domestic Montenegrin traditional.
That's domestic cheese
Yes,
as well?
domestic cheese.
Perfect pairing. Well done. It's so cool to be having high-class wine and cheese inside
Some
all this raw
wine.
concrete of an airplane hangar.
Ambition or
Yeah, what a contrast.
There are many places in this world to appreciate wine. And on my roadless travels, I've seen quite a few. But this is the first time I've had a tasting in a former Air Force bunker. It's an experience I would definitely recommend. But the coolest piece of Yugoslavia I find along the coast, a dark tunnel disappearing into a cliff, accessible only through the water. What was this?
Woo! How cool is this? An old Yugoslav submarine bunker. This is like James Bond stuff. I'm not sure if these submarines would have seen any action, but there were definitely a couple close moments. You had the '99 conflict with NATO, but before that, it was a very tense period where Stalin offered Tito a chance to join the Soviet Union as a satellite state. And Tito responded with the world-famous "Niet." Then after that, they were braced for a possible Red Army attack, which never came, but these submarines would have been prepared for action. Now, let's see what we can find in here.
Off the main passage, I uncover a network of tunnels, curiosities, and unsettling sights. The ladder takes me to the top of the hill, where a decrepit barracks sits in ruin. I cautiously explore, mindful of the danger.
Now, I've got to carefully watch my step. Just because it's Europe and not the tropics doesn't mean it's safe. There are 3 species of vipers in the Balkans, and the worst of them, the horned viper, can kill you like that.
I enter the tunnels once again to find my way back. Finally, popping out of the labyrinth.
Wow, super duper cool. This is the kind of thing you cannot do in most of the world. Exploring an old Yugoslav submarine base, climbing up ladders, poking through tunnels, exploring old forts on the top of the mountain. You know, the world is in constant change, and one day this too will be gone. If you're an intrepid explorer, I would get here now. Now where's my kayak?
The trip through old Yugoslavia has been a mini adventure of its own. How fascinating it is to clamor around the relics of a once great nation. My only regret is not to have seen it while it was alive and thriving. But what is still alive and thriving is my quest to find love in Montenegro. The mission now taking me along the country's most beautiful yet dangerous roads.
We're entering Moracha Canyon now, aka the Canyon of Death. Literally thousands of people have lost their lives here. A profound number when you consider the fact that this country has such a low population. All right, now I'm gonna give this Canyon of Death my full attention.
Indeed, the signs of death are everywhere along the roadside.
Now here's a guy who was rushing home or rushing to get to where his friends were, trying to have a few extra minutes with them, and now he has 0 minutes left in his life. Whether you're driving carefully or recklessly, that could still be your last moment. We never know when the Reaper is gonna call us. So let's be present with every moment and not end up with 0 minutes.
The best thing to do when feeling rushed is to take a break. Montenegrin towns are full of cute cafes that help a traveler unwind.
It's interesting how coffee drinking habits differ around the world. In the United States, it's not uncommon to see somebody buy a huge cup of Joe, sit down by themselves, and then scroll their phone or work on their laptop for hours. In Italy, people will come into a cafe with a friend, get a small cup of coffee, and then drink it within 10-15 minutes, and they're out. Here in the Balkans, like Montenegro, it's sort of a combination of the two. They have a small cup of coffee, they're with friends in the Italian style, but as in America, they will sit in this cafe with their small coffee for hours, talking and enjoying the day. How do they make it last so long? I have no idea. And when you get to the bottom of your Turkish coffee, you gotta stop drinking because it's all sludge on the bottom. But there is something fun and local you can do. You flip it around on the saucer and leave it for a minute. Left inside your coffee cup can be used for divination, to tell you something about your future. I have no idea.
Vidinti put.
Vidinti put.
Da.
Ah, okay. Hvala.
The roadside danger ends as I pull into the university town of Nikšić, where a hint of old Yugoslavia is tucked in by the hillside.
Propaganda. This is said to be the place where students gather to share ideas. Let's see if I can find a youthful academic insight to love.
I'm here looking for a youthful academic opinion. Are you guys students?
Yeah, I'm a student.
You're a student?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
How would you define the word love?
In 21st century?
Yeah, 21st century personal definition.
Well, people mix it with lust. But I would say that love is trust and, I don't know, friendship. And people with same opinion or interest sharing something beautiful in life.
An encouragingly articulate answer from the Montenegrin youth, and a nice little stop in the town of Nikšić. Back on the bike, I head further up country to the adventure capital of Zabjak, the jumping off point for some of Montenegro's most wild terrain, gorgeous and deadly at the same time. The global tourism industry has made the world cozy for casual travelers. So much that they forget this level of safety and convenience is unnatural. It does not apply in the wilderness. In these mountains, mistakes have consequences, often tragic. Now, I'm no pansy in the great outdoors, but these guys are the ultimate survivors. And I plan to learn a trick or two from them before I go on my own heroic quest.
Is there a reason why we met right in this spot?
The reason is the girl who was lost herself in the mountain. She start from here, from these houses.
From right there?
Yeah, right there. She tried to go to the Black Lake. It is maybe 15 minutes from here.
Oh, okay.
So on the right way, she need 15 minutes to the Black Lake. But she missed the trail, go deep in the mountain, go on one of the dangerous peaks in the dormitory, and she was died.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you found her the next day?
No, we are found her after 6 months.
6 months?
6 months, yeah.
Okay, so starting from here, we've got the woman left the house, doesn't have a charged phone, she's alone. Can we follow her path?
Yeah, of course.
All right, let's see where she made her next mistake.
Yeah, we can go.
All right.
This is the place where she have the first mistake, by our opinion. She goes straight on this bridge and go deep in the mountain, and she should to go left this trail. It will be 5 minutes to the Black Lake.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of obvious that this stream is going to go into the
down,
lake,
yeah,
right?
to the lake, yeah.
What do you think of the advice that if you're lost, follow streams downriver?
Yeah, it could help.
So did you lose her at this point?
Yeah, we are lose her on this point because we need more information and we don't have it. So it was deep in the mountain. It is from here some 5 or 6 hours walk.
Wow.
We are found her body from here, 5-6 hours walking from here.
So she went for a 15-minute hike and she ended up 5 hours away?
Yeah.
Can we go keep following her trail a little bit?
Of course.
All right. So you guys probably put your lives in danger quite often with these rescues, eh?
Yeah, we can say that, yes. Yeah.
What's the motivation?
Well, there is a reward when you come down the mountain. You really helped someone, and you made a difference in someone's life, and that's really a big thing. And every time when we got wet and tired and put ourselves in danger, every time we say, okay, this is the last time, we're through with this. But every time the phone rings, we know we are calling the action and we have to go. It's just, I don't know, bigger than us.
How many miles?
Underneath the canopy of trees, the trail becomes darker and easier to lose. It's a strange thing following the footsteps of someone who walked to their death. What kind of emotional and mental arc she must have experienced on this final journey. Along the path, I get to know the guys more personably.
And do you get paid well for the job?
No. The hug he mentioned is the only reward and the payment we got.
Wow, all voluntary.
All voluntary. So this is where she should come. And this mountain you see over there, this is where we found her.
What?
Yeah, and on the back side of it.
Wow.
Yeah. And this peak is notorious and is known as the most dangerous peak all around the Durmitor.
Amazing. So I can only imagine the delirium that you intended to go 15 minutes to a lake and now you're climbing through the snow and the rock. Just don't get to that point.
Now, how do I stack up against these guys in survivability? There's one simple check.
In that case, you should have the right things in your backpack.
Yeah.
Yeah? All right. Do you have the right things in your backpack? All right, let's compare backpacks.
We can.
I got the canteen. Canteen with a pro level carabiner, and I got a headlamp. Yeah. And a disco ball. Those camp parties.
You never know where the
never
party
know.
is. Yeah.
You never know when you want to have a good time in the tent, right? Yeah. Yeah, and that's about it. What am I lacking? What have you got that I don't have?
Okay, have first aid. In the case if you have some injuries. Most important in the mountain is map
Uh-huh.
and the compass.
A candle?
Yeah, and the matches. That is what.
This is to help you start a fire?
Yeah.
Yeah, it produces enough heat. You keep it trapped with the astrofoil above you in this little pocket of air in front of you, and that can help you. Can make the difference between life and death.
You have also couple headlamps, knife.
Knife.
Yeah.
That's
it.
essential.
With these things, I think you can go back.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So if you're lost,
Yeah.
stop.
Stop.
Try to signal for help.
Of course.
Keep yourself warm.
Yeah, and don't move from that part.
And don't
that
move.
Spot. Yeah, if you call us, don't move from that spot because we will know where we should to come. And if you move the position, you are in the trouble and we are in the trouble.
Right, right.
Overall, some pertinent advice from survival experts. Advice I shall soon employ as I embark on a new mission. Rumors of a terrible beast in the hills. A chivalrous man must rise to vanquish this creature, and I am that man. To take on this mythical challenge, I will need armor. And for that, I must go back south to the coastal town of Kotor, taking a long loop for a stop in Bielopolye for a bit of relaxation. In this eastern city, the old Ottoman influence has kept its roots intact. Just outside the town, a series of cute villages make for a fantastic destination to slow down and soak in country living. A little rest before the battle.
Sancho, the café needs más leche.
Sí, señor, sí.
When the day breaks, I make for the coast and the tourist gem of Montenegro. Descending into Kotor is one of the most scenic roads in the world, with jaw-dropping views down into the bay. But it's also one of the most perilous roads in the world, with modern, oversized traffic squeezing between the old walls. Be careful. Old Kotor is surrounded by Venetian walls. Climbing up to her heights affords more intimate views, a patchwork of ancient rooftops, the scenery interrupted only by modern cruise ships.
Most of Montenegro is a mystery to the world, but a small piece of the coastline has caught the attention of mass tourism. This is a two-edged sword. It brings in a modicum of money, but large ships do churn up the bay, and big buses clog narrow country roads.
But I digress. I did not come to Kotor to pontificate, but to armor up. Fortunately, I've made the acquaintance of the guys at Medieval Kotor, an interactive living history museum where visitors experience everyday medieval life firsthand. The museum has put careful care into recreating all the details with precision, including that which I seek.
How you doing, Jonathan?
Hey, nice to meet you, Vanya. Welcome.
Vanya, nice to meet you. Thank you for having me. I've heard Kotor is the place to get a good piece of armor.
Absolutely. Ever since the 14th century, it's been a place to go for such things.
And you've got a fine selection here.
Yeah, actually we got. Depends what you would like, you know. If you'd like some more mobility, but also decent protection, I would recommend chainmail, you know, or mail. It's, you know, every ring, as you can see, it's riveted. So if something tries to stab you, the rings won't burst. So it's pretty good. And also, as you can see, it's very flexible.
At the heaviest era, how much would a fully armored knight weigh?
Let's say if you are in war, you wouldn't go over 35 kilos. That would be like, you know, very heavy armor, maybe a little bit more. But if you're going on a tournament where you want to make yourself as safe as possible and you don't care that you can't really well move around in it, you can go up to 40 plus even.
What would you say is the most exciting thing about this armor?
When you wear it, once you put it on, you really feel that you are really hard to hurt, you know. And there is a lot of things, like when you put it on, and if it's really shiny, and if it's, you know, shiny armor. Today, shiny things are easy to see, you know, you can polish them, you know, very cheap. But back in the past, about 80% of the armor's price was polishing. So if you don't want unpolished armor, it's gonna be 80% cheaper. So, but if you're super high class, you will polish it and you're going to be the only shining thing in the army, right? Or just walking around the town, riding on a horse, and it's gonna be a presence, right? On the sun, you know, it's gonna glimmer and everybody's gonna be, wow, look at this guy.
Right.
So that's like, it's power, it's the aesthetic, it's the actual protection, you know, but, you know, on those two come together and you really feel the power.
Well, you say the most exciting thing is how it feels. Could I try one of these on?
Absolutely. Let's do that.
Let's do it.
They've agreed to assist me in my mission with a private wardrobe selection of armor, authentically designed to the specs of the era.
What?
This is great, guys, but it's a little heavy. Can I just take this part? Nice and shiny.
Absolutely.
Now, I have my outdoor training. I have my armor. I have my Rocinante. And I have my Sancho. It's time to fight the beast. I travel on my faithful steed. One more ride over the stunning Montenegrin roads. And when the road becomes too rough, I must switch her for another, more beefy mare. And when it becomes even more rough, I switch again to foot and then to rope. And finally, I meet the creature.
There it is, Sancho. You terrible beast. Must be my armor.
But, Senor, it's not, but... Senor! My island! Senor! My island!
No one knows what happened to our brave hero that day. Rumors are he survived the encounter and settled somewhere in this land of mountains, coast, and sea. Perhaps when you come to Montenegro, you might find him sitting at a waterside cafe with his Dulcinea.